Okay. Hello and welcome to today's World Soil Day webinar, Loyal to the Soil. We are so glad you are joining us today and we look forward to today's discussion. I'm Arash Gale, the Director of Research at Rodale Institute, and will serve as the moderator during today's discussion. Following our discussion today, we will be opening the floor for Q&A section from our audience. Please drop your question into the Q&A box of the Zoom during the presentation. Our panelists will be answering the question that come into the Q&A box, not into the chat box. Just make sure that you place your question in the right place. I would like to begin by providing a brief overview of the importance of the World Soil Day, which highlights the essential role of soil health in sustaining life in the earth. Established by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, and endorsed in 2013, World Soil Day brings awareness to crucial issues surrounding the soil degradation and advocates for soil sustainable management. This day offers a vital opportunity to recognize soil's foundation role in food production, climate stability, water purification, biodiversity conservation, and more importantly, ecosystem resilience. The emphasis of our webinar today is the hidden power of the healthy soil, which is focused on regenerative organic agriculture practices. Healthy soil is more than just a medium for plants to grow. It's a living ecosystem that performs a range of crucial environmental functions such as food security, climate resilience, carbon sequestration, biodiversity conservation, water management, and purification. Soil acts as a massive carbon sink, storing 3 times more carbon than atmosphere. Think about that number. Regenerating soil health could offset a significant portion of the global CO2 emissions, making a powerful tool in the fight against climate change. Healthy soil absorb also and retain water more effectively, reducing the risk of flood and drought. Soil organisms also filter pollutants, enhancing water quality for ecosystems and communities. Good people, the news is full of stories about the grave challenges that the world soil faces. And during today's discussion, Dr. Saurabh Das will be speaking about that in a greater detail. An important part of our conversation today will be the promise that regenerative organic agriculture offers to reverse that trend, reverse soil degradation, and improve human and planetary health. Now, to begin the discussion, I want to take a moment and introduce today's panelists, all of whom will contribute a tremendous level of expertise to our discussion. So, first of all, I want to introduce Dr. Saurabh Das, who is the Director of Farming System Trial at Rodale Institute in Pennsylvania. He brings extensive expertise in the soil health, the biogeochemistry and of carbon and nitrogen, sustainable agriculture, and environmental microbiology to our work. Dr. Das is passionate about integrating data science with the soil science, emphasizing the importance of data in decision-making for adopting sustainable practices and policymaking. He is dedicated to advancing research in sustainable farming systems and is eager to contribute to innovative work that we are doing at Rodale Institute. Dr. Saurabh Das, please excuse me if I forgot something. You have a few seconds to cover whatever I forgot. Go ahead.
Hey, Harsh, thank you for introducing me. And I'm Dr. Saurabh, and I work as a director of the Farming System Trial at the Rodale Institute. And I would say Farming System Trial is one of the unique trial or agricultural experiment. It started back in 1981. It's one of the oldest, longest running side-by-side comparative studies of organic and conventional grain production system in the United States. And during my talk, and I will share some of the findings from this. And during the questions and answers, we can discuss more also. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Das. Next, I would like to introduce Daniel Araujo, who joins us today presenting the Regenerative Organic Alliance. As an agronomist, Daniel has more than 10 years working with international certifiers dedicated to various organic, social, and environmental programs. His experience as an auditor, certification officer, and operations manager enables Daniel to constantly improve Regenerative Organic Alliance standards and assurance. Based in Brazil, he brings a global south perspective of agri-food and certification system. Welcome, Daniel, to our event. And first of all, where are you, Daniel?
Hello, everybody. Very nice to be here today. Very happy to join the discussion in the World Soil Day. Thank you, Arash, for introduction. And yeah, I'm talking from Florianópolis, a city located in the south coast of Brazil. So I guess most of you are in the northern hemisphere, and I'm in the extreme opposite. So we have a beautiful summer day here today. An excellent day to join a discussion about, regenerative organic, regenerative practices, and how this all connects with soil health. So very happy to be here today representing the Regenerative Organic Alliance. And about my work, I am the Standards and Quality Assurance Manager at the ROA. So my work is pretty much cooperating with auditors, certifiers, and organizations that are looking after the Regenerative Organic Certified claim. So yeah, that's it. Very happy to be here today and looking forward to talk more about it.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. I should say I'm a little bit jealous you are sitting in the summer weather, and we got the snow this morning. I like snow in this season, but still, I like warm weather. So
Yeah.
our next panelist, thank you so much, Daniel. Our next panelist doesn't need my introduction. Ashley Walsh, the president of Pocono Organics. I'm glad that she's here with us. She kindly accepted our invitation. As a leader in a multi-generational family business, Ashley knows the value of vision, passion, and impact. Ashley's health journey in her late 20s, when she was diagnosed with gastroparesis, a paralyzed stomach, led her to breaking ground for Pocono Organics in July of 2018. Sprawling over 380 acres, Pocono Organic is now a global center for research, education, and innovation, and is one of the largest regenerative organic certified farm in the U.S. and also in the world. In 2022, Pocono Organics also became a Rodale Institute Regional Resource Center, hosting full-time on-site scientists who work to continue investing in the science behind regenerative organic agriculture practices to inspire people and heal the earth. I like that terminology, heal the earth. So welcome, Ashley, here. Before you start, I should say that it's my pleasure that 3 years ago, when I started my career here at Rodale Institute, I was hired as a scientist for that center, and I had a wonderful, wonderful experience working with Ashley. Ashley, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm so glad that you came on board a few years ago and all the support from Rodale and the ROA and the ROC throughout the years. So happy to be here with everyone and talk about the most important thing, soil, on this wonderful day. So thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, sure. We are going to talk a lot about soil and soil health today. So next and last panelist that with us today is Tara Caton. Tara is a research associate at Rodale Institute, and she's an agronomist. She is famous for the work that she has done on hemp, on weed management, and soil. So I'm pretty sure with the knowledge and the background that she has, she's going to entertain us with lots of information. Tara, thank you so much for being here with us.
Yes, thank you for having me. And I look forward to telling you about what we've been up to.
Awesome. Thank you. So now to begin today's panel, I would like to turn the floor to Dr. Dust to discuss the important role of soil that plays in human and planetary health. So Dr. Sarov, please take the stage.
Can you guys see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, I'll close my video so to make so that it doesn't give much trouble during our discussion. Okay. So hi everyone, this is Saurabh. I am a director of the farming system trial, as Arash mentioned. I worked at the Rodale Institute, and I'm happy to be here on this occasion of the World Soils Day. Soil is, I would like to say that most of my work till now is revolves around the soil, and my whole career is, and my passion is all about the soils. And sometimes soil is everywhere there. Sometimes we overlook the soil because it's beneath our feet, but we forget about the importance of the soil in our life. So on this occasion of the World Soils Day, I want to reiterate how we should be thankful this finite resource of soils and why we should be putting a lot of efforts to conserve and preserve for the future generations. So today's Rodale Institute's theme of this World Soil Day is loyal to soil. And we should be loyal to soil for the ecosystem services and function it provides to us. Like soil is important for the food productions. It is important for the food security, the climate mitigation and regulation. Soil is the largest sink of the carbon dioxide. It regulates the greenhouse gases and emissions. And soil is important for the water cycles and water management. So soil improve the water infiltration, like especially the healthy soil has improved water infiltration, retention capacity. So in the drought years, you can have more production. So it reduces the infiltration rates determine it can reduce the flooding risk, and soil buffers and filters the contaminants. Soil is a shelters to billions of microbes and macrofauna, which is important for our nutrient cycles. Besides this, soils provide a lot of antibiotics, which are important for our pharmaceuticals or health. Even soil provides a cultural heritage, and it's important for the food, fibers, and fuels. So soil provides so many things to us in our life. It contributes, so we should be loyal to the soil and try to conserve and preserve it more for our future generations. Before going to the talking or discussing the current state of the soils and about the farming system trial, I thought about putting in quotes from the Franklin Roosevelt that the nation that destroys its soils destroys itself. So it defines that how important the soil is and why we should be more proactive in conserving and taking care of our soil. So if you see that globally, there's a numbers that almost like 33% of the world's global soil is now moderately to highly degraded due to the erosion, compaction, salinization, acidification, and depletion of the nutrients, and a lot of chemical contaminants. And we are losing almost like 10 at a rate of 10 to 40 times faster every year than the nature can regenerate itself. So this brings a lot of threats to the plants and animal life and other ecosystem services. Recently, a report came from the UNESCO, which kind of emphasized that, and they mentioned that almost like 3.2 billion people in the world, in the globals, are directly impacted by the soil degradation. And one of the greatest example of this is the Dust Bowl. I know that many of you probably have heard about this, but back in 1930s, when there was a Great Depression going on, especially the Midwest or Great Plains, the producer started breaking down the native grasses and converted into the croplands. And they started using a lot of intensive tillages, and which eventually broke down the natural soil structures and aggregates. And due to the high wind, and then it became a lot of susceptible to the erosion. And there was a big wind erosion of the Dust Bowl, which is considered or termed as the Dust Bowl, and which lasted like 4 years in the Midwest. And on an approximately 1.2 billion tons of the topsoil we have lost during that time. And one of the primary reasons was that we started intensively breaking down the native soils to convert into the croplands and use a lot of tillage. And this is one of the greatest example that how if we don't care about our soil, how it can degrade and it can be a problem to our life. And after that, a lot of people migrated to the West in the California, finding jobs. They had a lot of hard time, financially and living their life. So we should be more proactive, taking care of the soils. And then, as Arash also mentioned and emphasized, that soil is the largest sink of the carbon. Almost, if the soil is functioning at its optimum capacity, soil can sequester like 10% of the global carbon dioxides. And soil stores almost like 1,500 to 2,400 petagrams. Petagrams is like 1 billion tons of carbon, and which is more like 2 to 3 times more than all the atmosphere and vegetation combined. Recently, a study came from Senderman, Jonathan Senderman. He works with the Rodale Institute. They kind of predicted that we almost lost 133 petagrams of carbon from the top 2 meters of the soil, especially due to the intensive agricultural practices. And it has been intensified over the last 200 years. And United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization says that if we can maintain our soil health at optimal, we can probably sequester 3 billion tons or petagrams of carbon dioxide annually. And soil also is the house or shelters to a lot of different billions of microorganism, macroorganism, macroflora. They're important for the climate change mitigation efforts or nutrient cycling. They're important for the plant growth. They're important for the human health. They're important for the water cycles, water purification, and water management. But the soil degradations has endangers almost like 25% of those living organisms in the soils, and which disrupt the nutrient cycling and depletes our soil nutrients. And that's why we have to eventually have to apply a lot of inorganic fertilizers, and which has a downstream impact on our environment, like water quality issues coming up, a lot of air quality issues coming up, a lot of there's a economic aspects of this also. It's just not the environmental. There's like on an average there's a $400 billion loss every year due to the cost, agricultural production lost due to the decrease in crop resilience and need for higher every year application of more fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, which end up costing you a lot of money. And so the soil degradation on average cost globally like $400 billion per year. And especially the regions which are highly dependent on agriculture, like Africa alone loses like $68 billion each year due to the soil erosion and fertility loss. And recently a study came out in United States or US, due to the soil erosion or degradation, you say we almost lost like $113 per acres per year. And most of that has to come from the farmer's pocket. So soil erosion or soil degradation is expensive from the terms of economics also. And future risk, like United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, the UNCCD, has recently predicted that if we continue what we are doing, like as an intensive cultivation, then by 2050 we'll probably lose the 90% of the Earth's soil due to the degradations. And it's going to be, you can think about how it's going to impact the food security, human health, and global environmental health also. But that's being said, we're not doing everything wrong, right? People are more concerned about the environment, our soil health, environment health, and food quality, and overall human fitness or well-being more than ever, I would say. And so recent study from this came just March or April from the Illinois. They studied the erosion from 1982 to 2017, and they found almost like 35% of the erosion has reduced due to the effort of conservation. We started using a lot of cover crops, we keep the ground covers, we are doing crop rotations and a lot of things. So it's reduced almost like 35% of the erosion over the years. So we have some good news. So I will mostly talk about soil health. The soil health is defined as the basically continued capacity of the soil to provide ecosystem services to sustain living ecosystem like the plants, humans, macroflora. I have highlighted the word continued capacity. A lot of time I wanted to emphasize this because it's not like that, today your soil is bad and you go and take care of it and forget about it tomorrow or next year. It should be, it should be kind of a ritual to take care of it. And it's just not quick fix something. We should fix our soil that our future generations of our kids can take the benefits of our conservation efforts today. So basically soil health is defined as the status of the soil, which as its optimum capacity to provide the ecosystem services. In ecosystem services like crop production, filtering or buffering the contaminants, storing more carbon, reducing the greenhouse gases, or supporting the billions of different organisms. So most of the time when people talk about soil health, you will see that there's 4 different practices people will talk about, that you should keep your grounds covered and put the living roots in the soil throughout the years. You should maximize the diversity through the crop rotations, minimize the soil disturbances, and you should integrate the livestock in the systems. But at Rodale Institute, we are also trying to take it a little step farther and trying to, more look into the system perspective. So we are here more interested in regenerative organic agriculture. So where we are trying to improvise the soil, that we can use the natural source of soil as its fertilizers. We are more concerned about also herbicides, pesticides, and inorganic fertilizers, which can have a downstream impact of the water quality, air quality, or human health also. So we are more interested in using the organic source of fertilizers, no herbicide, pesticides. We are trying to develop integrated pest and weed management practices. And we are also interested in connecting the community in a sense of, back to the land, and in a sense of understanding how the importance of soil and agriculture and food production have in human health and life. So this is moving one step farther from just doing normal regenerative practices. So this is regenerative organic agricultures, which we are trying to promote at the Rodale Institute. So as we talked about, healthy soils has a lot of benefits. Like it can improve your economic benefits, it can lower the risk of the weather and pest in production cost. So you will reduce your production cost. It can give you higher productivity, higher yield, and then you can store, soil, water, and retention will increase. We have found in one of our study that in the drought years, when there was less rain and precipitation, the manure systems, so the systems managed for soil health improvements, have higher yield compared to the conventional systems. And healthy soils also improve the soil structures, and which eventually improves all the soil ecosystem services. So there's a study came out recently, like 2023, from the Soil Health Institute. They found that the people who adopted the soil health management practices, they have almost increased the net farm income by $65 per acres. And then the people who have adopted the soil health management practices also reduce their cost, like $14 per acres for the corn, $7 for the soybean, and $16 for other crops. And they have also improved their net return, or return on investment, like 42% for the corn, 32% for the soybean, and 35% for the other crops. And they have also noticed there is a significant decrease in the soil erosion and soil compaction over the years, the people who have adopted the soil health management practices. So now going back to, I will just give an example briefly. This is not all the findings, but just giving you a brief example. So at Rodale, we have a called farming system trial, which I manages here. And this is one of the longest running side-by-side comparative study of organic and conventional production, grain production system, especially in the North America. It's established in 1981, and we have 3 different systems. 2 organic systems and 1 conventional system. So one is organic manure, where the soil fertility is basically provided by the manure, and organic legume, where the fertility or source of fertility is the legume, like legume crops. And then we have a conventional system, which basically depends upon the inorganic fertilizer like urea, ammonium fertilizers, and then we apply herbicide and pesticides in the organic conventional systems. And then we have 2 tillage treatments. We have reduced tillage and full tillage. So altogether there's 6 treatments, and then we have 4 different replications of the systems. And if you see some of the numbers I put together quickly for today, and if you see the yield also on the corn yield, basically, we found that conventional system and manure system yield is significantly like same. There is no difference between the systems. So by having a manure management systems, optimized manure management systems, you can have the same amount of yield you are getting from the conventional systems. And legume system has a little bit low, because legume system basically depends upon the legume as a source of fertilizers. And if you also see the percentage of organic matters over the years, it has significantly improved in the manure management system and legume system, like the organic systems compared to the conventional systems. And then if you see the bacterial or microbial diversity or microbial biomass, there is a significant improvement in the microbial biomass overall in the organic systems compared to the conventional systems. And so these are some of the findings from the farming system trials. I want to end the talk with this year's United Nations themes is called Measure, Monitor, and Manage. And one important thing of this year thing is that it connects the scientists to the producers. Measurement is really important. So if you don't measure, you don't know. So if you measure the soil, what's going on, how much organic matter is there, what is the current nutrient level, what is the pH there, then you can adjust your managements or crop production systems according to that. And then over the years, let's say you started using crop rotation or cover crops, then you can, over the years, you can monitor it, that whether you are doing something good or bad, how it's impacting your soils. And then comes to the, if something is really helpful for your system, then you can manage it towards the years. Because a lot of time, management is the main key factors which impacts the soil health overall. So management is the key component to improve our soil health and soil for the future generations. On this note, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, you can put on the Q&A on the chat. And once the presentation is over, we can discuss over the questions. And I also want to emphasize that, as I told, that it's just not a quick fix something. It's about taking care of the soil for next generations also. So let's work together. Let's make a future where nurturing a sustainable environment, sustainable and equitable environment for the generations to come. Thank you so much, and I'll pass it to the Daniel. Daniel will give his talk. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, Saurav. All very important and relevant topics. In fact, I'm, actually piggybacking on you, because my presentation will discuss a little bit about the Regenerative Organic Certified and how this is connected with the soil health in general, and in particular in regenerative organic systems. So let me share my screen here real quick. All right, I guess you can see the first slide. So, well, I already introduced myself. So good afternoon, everyone, once again. I really loved the theme of our webinar, Loyal to the Soil. It's really beautiful. And this brings a truth that us in the Regenerative Organic Alliance deeply believes in, that soil is not just a foundation for agriculture only, but it's also the foundation of the whole life, the whole society, our cultures, and our diversity. Just as Saurav was explaining, it's, the foundation of the whole life on Earth. And today I'll discuss how the regenerative organic farming, can start healing our soils, and why the certification standards are a very important part on driving this transformation. So this first slide shows our motto here at the ROA. So farm like the world depends on it. It's pretty much what we believe. And moving on here, the Regenerative Organic Alliance, talking a little bit about the ROA. So we, as we were saying here in this slide, we envision a thriving future through this regenerative organic agriculture that is capable to heal our damaged planet and at the same time repair our broken food system. And this mission is to build soil health, but also ensuring equity for farm workers, empowering farmers, and improve animal welfare through this holistic farm-based and brand-driven certification that I'm going to talk about. And a little more about the ROA. So it all started in 2017 when a group of leading organizations in the organic movement, including Rodale, right, came together to create this more aspirational standard capable to guide the future of agriculture, the future not only for organic, but agriculture as a whole. And the Regenerative Organic Certified program was developed, aimed to be an agricultural certification for food, for fiber, and also personal care ingredients. So everything related to agriculture ingredients. And we are based on 3 different certification pillars. Asking farmers to go above and beyond the organic agriculture, practicing agricultural techniques that can ensure healthy soil, ethical and humane treatments of animal, and fairness for farmers and workers. So the mission of the ROA is to continuously review and keep up to date the Regenerative Organic Certified program through the Regenerative Organic Certified framework, the ROC framework. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about the program, the certification, and how it can support brands, farmers, and ranchers, to deliver more and more impact through regenerative organic. So as I was saying, the ROC, the Regenerative Organic Certified, is this revolutionary label that is based on these 3 different pillars, and it's totally rooted in regenerative agricultural practices. I mean, this term, regenerative agriculture, as we were just hearing from Saurav, right? And all the practices that define regenerative agriculture, they are not recent modern creations, but this standard, the ROC framework, was created to promote the farming practices that can actually restore, build soil, ensure animal welfare, and stop with any unfair conditions for farmers and farm workers. And this is also to protect the term regenerative, which was noted by our founders that is in grave danger for greenwashing coming from corporate interests. So we truly believe that our ROC high bar standards can define what regenerative can and what regenerative should be. Not only a set of loose practices for the soil health, but more than that, a more holistic type of agriculture that considers all the players in the farm system, starting from the soil microbiome, passing through the animals, and reaching the workers and the farmers that are carrying the land. So, and why do we need regenerative organic now? I don't need to say much, right? Dr. Saurav just brought a lot of interesting data about the loss of topsoil, erosion, all the danger that we are facing, and a lot of loss that communities, nations are facing because of the conventional industrial agriculture. So, just to note that we believe that what we do to the soil, we are actually doing to ourselves. Soil is the bedrock for our food system. And as I was saying in the beginning, the base for our culture and civilization. And if we degrade the soils, We are threatening our own way of life, and we are losing, continuously productivity of our cropland, the health of the food that we eat, and the availability of all the materials that we are using for clothing, building, and a lot more. So, thinking about carrying the soil and be loyal to the soil is by extension, being loyal to our own future and the future of the next generations. So that said, let's start talking more about the Regenerative Organic Certified program. As I said in the beginning, we have 3 different certification pillars. We start with the soil, but we do not stop only in the soil health. We also need to consider what is on the top of the soil, right? So we have, besides the soil health pillar and the requirements contained in this pillar, we have the animal welfare pillar and the social fairness pillar. So this slide's more like a broad overview on it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about each one of the pillars, especially the soil health and land management pillar. And this program, the certification program, has been developed since, as I said to you, 2017, 2018, and between 2019 until today, we are developing more and more the program by partnering and working with different organizations that are providing certification services. In the same fashion, we have the NOP certification, for example. We are working with independent third-party certifying organizations that are offering their ROC certification worldwide. So, a lot has happened in the past 5-6 years, and we keep evolving, including more and more language and updating our Regenerative Organic Certified framework. So let's start taking a closer look at the soil health pillar. So here in the first column, we have, the main points that I also have here in our next slide. So as we're saying, what we do to the soil, we're doing to ourselves. And how we are planning to ensure that the farmers that are joining the Regenerative Organic Certified program are, actually building soil, protecting the ecosystems, and protecting the people that works and depends on the soil by increasing the soil organic matter, fertility, and biodiversity. So we have a number of criteria, and that includes increasing soil organic matter, conservation tillage practices, the mandatory use of cover crops, crop rotations, rotational grazing. All GMO and gene editing is prohibited. We cannot we do not accept any soilless systems. No synthetic inputs are allowed. We aim to promote the biodiversity through the different practices, and very, very important, protect all the water bodies, water systems within the farms. And this is more like a general overview of the soil health, but I would like to go a little deeper in some, key practices that we have to build soil health that are coming straight from the ROC framework. So here are these farming key practices that I separated for us to discuss, to talk a little bit more. So you can see the names in brown, right? And after this, you can see a number, for example, vegetative cover 2.1. This is, a reference to the language, the criteria that we have in the ROC framework. So later on, you can check the full requirement and understand how exactly we are asking farmers and ranchers to adhere to the Regenerative Organic certified principles. So taking by example, vegetative cover, the idea is that any operations joining the Regenerative Organic Certified shall aim to cover land with living vegetative cover year-round, so during the whole year. Otherwise, maintenance of either dead, rolled, or lightly incorporated crop residues or mulch are required when field preparation or planting is not underway. So by keeping these living roots in the ground year-round, we are aiming to prevent all the elements that were explained previously by Saurabh, right? So erosion, have more water retention, enhancing soil organic matter. So the very first step is to think about vegetative cover if you want to be regenerative, right? Very next to it, we have crop rotations. All the operations that are ROC certified, they need to demonstrate that they are using crop rotations or they are adopting perennial systems. And this annual crop rotation plan should include a green manure at least. And this is to not only, disrupt the pest cycles, which can be the most obvious, and reduce diseases, but also build soil biodiversity and make the whole system more resilient. The next topic will be the reduced tillage. Also very, very important. We need to minimize urgently the soil disturbance to avoid all the damage that are being caused by the extensive use of machinery in the soil. And, every time you mess with the soil, you're messing with the soil structure. That means, issues to the microbiome community, for fungi communities, and you are breaking all the potential that the soil has to be the carbon sink that Dr. Sorov was just explaining. So the criteria 2.3 brings the goal of the Regenerative Organic Certified to reduce the soil disturbance as much as possible. And to achieve this goal, we are asking farmers to keep on record and control all tillage events. All tillage events shall be documented, and we need to evidence an action plan showing that we have concrete actions to reduce the intensity of tillage time over time. Finally, in this first 4 criteria that I would like to mention, we have organic composting. So it's the base of the fertility, right? And whenever we are using composting, the operations, they need to plan, they need to look forward for self-sufficiency, both in compost and manures in general. So the idea is to have less imports, less soil amendments being imported, and to replace nutrients that are being exported off farm. So whenever we need to bring off farm soil amendments inputs, they shall be coming from regionally available wastes and byproducts. So the idea is to work within the farm boundaries, and if needed, to cooperate with regional, sources for inputs. And, all the composting, the main goal is to enrich the soil with organic matter, increase the fertility, and do this based on evidence, based on soil analysis, understanding what exactly the soil needs, and not only, putting more inputs year after year. So you need to be consistent. You need to have strong planning behind you before moving ahead and start doing any, composting or applying any manure. So these are the 4 of the key practices that we have to build soil health, but we have much more. For example, we have a huge number of other regenerative practices that are described, listed under the soil health and land management pillar. You don't need to adhere to all these practices, but you need to at least select, for the very initial level of certification, to adopt at least 3 of these practices that I'm showing the screen. So the whole idea is that the ROC operations are able to engage in additional regenerative practices beyond those that are required by the NOP regulations. And that's what means to be regenerative organic, to have your organic certification in place, but to give this step forward to improve the overall ecosystem health and the productivity of the operations. And we have a lot of benefits that goes beyond the soil as well. So regenerative organic farming have, just to mention 3, we can think about climate mitigation. So when we have health soils, you are sequestering carbon, you're helping to combat climate change. The regenerative practice can turn agriculture into a climate solution instead of being a contributor to the problem, as the conventional industrial agriculture is. Number 2, going beyond the soil, we can think about biodiversity. So when we have, healthy soils, thriving soils, we are supporting the biodiversity, starting from microbiome, going for plant life, and that turns later on in sustaining pollinators, sustaining wildlife, and at the end, entire ecosystems. So I don't like to talk about you know, only the farm. I like to think about agro ecosystems. So you know, being regenerative organic means that you are partner with nature, you're partner with the environment, and you are boosting your production, your productivity by using in your benefit, you know, working with this alliance with the whole biodiversity surrounding your farm and within your farm. And finally, to list, you know, number 3, beyond the soil, I could talk about crop resilience. So when we have soils that are rich in organic matter and microbial life, just as we were seeing with the data brought by Dr. Saurav, we have, you know, more ability of the crops to withstand to extreme weather, to, you know, pest, disease, severe droughts, for example. And this is increasingly urgent need in these times where we are facing more and more climate variability, more and more extreme events. So this is about the soil, but I'd like to take a couple of minutes only to talk about the other pillars because they are very, very important and totally related to the soil health. Being the first, the animal welfare. So if you are aiming to have a regenerative organic animal production, we need to have this high welfare farming, right, principles that are addressing the need and the nature of the animals first, you know, before productivity, before, you know, the final results, we need to think about the freedoms, the 5 freedoms that the animals need to have. I'm mentioning the 5 freedoms here. So freedom from discomfort, from fear and distress, from hunger, pain, injury, or disease, and the most important for me, freedom to express their animal behavior, their natural behaviors that are so rich and diverse. And, you know, industrial farming, by keeping animals, you know, enclosed indoors all the time, are preventing, you know, billions of animals to express their own animal behavior. And, you know, that's why the Regenerative Organic Certified is asking all the ranchers, everyone that is aiming to certify livestock, to adhere to high level, high bar, you know, animal welfare criteria. And finally, last but not least, we have social fairness, right? So as we were saying here, to be truly regenerative, we need to consider all the players in the farm system. We mentioned the soil, we mentioned the animals, but we also need to care about the people that are working the soil. So ethical treatment for our land stewards is key. You know, it's necessary for a positive agricultural system. And that's why we have the farmer and worker fairness pillar, you know, the 3rd certification pillar of the program, seeking to empower people, restore communities around, you know, the farm. And we do this by ensuring fair conditions, both to the farmers, ranchers, but also farm workers at all levels. So everyone in the farm needs to be included in the social fairness requirement. And that includes, you know, all the international labor organization conventions. And I mean, you know, fair payments, long-term commitments between brands and farmers, you know, buyers, paying the living wage for workers, you know, going towards, you know, going for a living wage in the long term is very, very important. Ensuring professional development, providing good working conditions, allowing democratic organizations for workers. This is very, very important. And that includes freedom of association, having transparency and accountability all across the board. And of course, no forced labor, no child labor, and nothing that goes against, you know, fair conditions for the workers. So to have healthy soil, you need to have, you know, ethical treatment for the people, and that ensures that the farm is going to be truly, truly sustainable in the long run, in the long term. Well, finally, just mentioning that we have in the Regenerative Organic Certified program 3 levels of certification. So everyone starts in the bronze, goes for the silver level, and the aim is to reach the gold level, you know, after some years in the program. So farmers don't need to start, you know, adhering to the highest requirement at first. They can start slowly at their own pace, according to their own reality. according to, the system that they are working today. And then they can, progress consistently through silver and finally reaching the gold, which is the highest standard, the highest bar in terms of regenerative organic. As I was explaining before, we are working with third-party certificators, certifying bodies. So we have auditors and reviewers that are, providing the certification services to the farmers that are joining the program. So we have annual inspections. We have, certification decisions taken by the certification body. And finally, the Regenerative Organic Alliance, the ROA, is the organization in charge to issue the certificate, and not only the certification for farmers, but the license that we issue to the brands that are willing to use ROC claims. So, yeah, I already mentioned that before, but just listing other benefits of the regenerative organic certified products. We have peak nutrition quality. We have ROC farms showing increased carbon capture, equity for farmers, animal welfare, biodiversity, higher yields in times of extreme weather. I have seen this happening on site, visiting a number of farmers in different countries, how farms react differently to extreme weather events, if they are following or not regenerative organic principles. So this is, very, very important pillar for our certification program. Yeah, and the list goes on and on. I'm not going to repeat. We have, all the language available for you later on. So finally, just to explain that the Regenerative Organic Certified Program is a farm-based certification, but it's a brand-driven program. So as I was explaining in the beginning, no other regenerative certification today is requiring adherence to the organic practice, the organic certification to protect the land, water, and everyone else from industrial techniques and toxic agrochemicals. So when a brand is, has a product that is regenerative organic certified, they are answering to this consumer desire to have, their purchase making a positive impact at every level. So when the consumer is buying an ROC certified product, he's buying a product that is taking care of the environment, being ethically produced and have social impact for sure. So we have a lot of mainstream retailers that are cooperating with the program today. As example, the Whole Foods Market, Sprouts, and others. So they're taking responsibility for building this sustainable, equitable, and nourishing food system by asking more and more for products that have the ROC claim. So sharing some numbers, I'm not going to spend much time on this, but, we are every time very, very excited to see that we are having actual progress, since the inception of the program. So we have certified farms all around the globe, here from Brazil, from Europe, Asia, a lot of, farmers in North America, of course. And we just hit, 18 million acres certified under the program. That means 61,000 farmers and smallholders that are, being certified today. More than 400 crops, 200 brands and more licensed, and almost 2,000 ROC products available in the market. And the most recent data we have shows, 25% of growth year over year, which is very, very exciting and, give us good perspectives for the future. We have more acres being certified. That means that we have more certified ingredients available. And finally, this means more and more brands bringing products with regenerative organic certified content to the market. So here I'm just showing some brand leaders with ROC products available for sale. So probably a couple of them. And the ROA is connecting our brand partners, not only these brand leaders, but our brand partners as a whole with our growers to ensure that the brands have their ingredients that they need at the same time that growers have someone, a buyer for their crops. So the idea is to have brands and farmers supporting each other to grow this very, very important movement. And I guess that's it. I thought I prepared a thank you slide, but I guess I don't. So yeah, it just goes out of black here. But I'm very excited to to answer questions later on. I'm going to stop share so we can see you all. And once again, the Regenerative Organic Alliance and the Regenerative Organic Certified Program are here to support farmers, to communicate to consumers, to communicate to the brands that they're doing this very, very excellent work, at the farm level. And that's, how I leave to invite Ashley to bring her own experience here to share a little bit about the excellent work that they are doing at Pocono, which is, of course, a Regenerative Organic Certified operation. So thank you all, and hi, Ashley.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Well, I want to thank the ROA and Rodale for all the work that you guys have done in the science side and the guidelines for the certification that have enabled us to do what we do at Pocono Organics. So I'm happy to be here and kind of show what you guys have put in place and us being kind of a case study of how we've utilized that as a farm and a brand going forward. So as Dr. Arash had mentioned in the beginning, that it was my health journey that, was what, started in motion, the mission that we're on at Pocono Organics. So I was diagnosed with gastroparesis, which is a paralyzed stomach. So I can't digest a lot of fruits, vegetables, and meats and have to eat like a toddler, and kind of got to the end of the road with Western medicine. And I started working with new doctors and adopted organic lifestyle. And immediately the results were undeniable that my quality of life improved, and I'll never be, cured, but I'm managed now, right? And it was amazing to see how the difference immediately by using food as medicine and cutting out the chemicals and the toxins and the, synthetic inputs and preservatives and dyes and everything, and going back to the way our grandparents ate, made a huge difference in my life. And so that's what started me on my journey, is like, wow, if this could help me, like, imagine how it can help other people. And so many people are just uneducated about how broken our food system is, right? Like, I thought everything at the grocery store is safe. And when you start scratching that itch and really digging, you realize how broken the food system is. And that's when I, started following Rodale and everything that they were doing. And they're, 1 hour south of us, our neighbors. So that's what really educated me on how broken it was. And I wanted to be part of the solution, right? Of how we could help. And we had a 50-acre parcel that my family had, and I wanted to start a small community farm. We're in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. It's a food desert, and there's very few options of where to get organic produce anywhere near us. And so I wanted to have this small community farm for our corner of the world and help our local community. But I had no idea how to farm. So I cold called Rodale, and somehow they took the meeting and decided to partner with us. So from the first day that we started the farm, Rodale has been an integral partner. We had a Rodale farm manager for the first 3 years. And that's right when the ROC, pilot program had started. And I was like, I want to be a part of this. I saw the big picture. I believed in everything of how the guidelines were set up, and it was the right, I felt the right move for the future. And so we set up the farm from day one as an ROC farm, and we started at bronze, and now I've made it up to silver, which we're very happy about, and one day we'll be gold, hopefully. So we just finished our 6th season in the fields and in our facility, and Rodale has been a part of it from day one. And a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, became a regional resource center for Rodale. We had been doing research since day one, up to 12 research projects a year, and now becoming a regional resource center and having the scientists on site and a lab on site, has really amplified the research that we're able to do on our diverse farm. And it's just been, Rodale's been an amazing partner, and the ROA has been amazingly supportive throughout the whole process over the last few years. And our facility is vast. I meant to start my little slideshow here. I'll put it up to show you. So we have 380 acres. We started at 50, and we have grown to 90, and now 380. We have a a 70,000 square foot facility, 30,000 square feet of production and processing space, and then 40,000 square feet of greenhouses that are soil-based to enable us to grow year-round. We wanted to be a public place for people to have experiences and become educated. So we have a organic market on site. We have a cafe run by a Chop Champion chef. We do tours and all kinds of community events and classes, compost classes and kids classes. We have a kids program called Clean Food, Dirty Hands to teach the children, to start eating healthy, in the beginning of their life and not when they're older, like all of us after a diagnosis comes. So, sharing this knowledge with the community, giving them experiences to educate them. And we do tours of our facility as well to show people why regenerative organic is so important and its benefits for human and planetary health going forward. And we started with just being an ingredient and crop provider, right? Growing diverse crops for different groups. And now we've started doing our own products in-house. So we were the world's first regenerative organic certified microgreens. So here are some broccoli microgreens and hemp microgreens, which like nobody does, which is amazing and fun. And we have started taking those now and making them into freeze-dried powders so that you can add 1/4 teaspoon to soups, smoothies, sauces, waffle mix, whatever it might be, and sneak some nutrients in, especially for the children and the older population and the most vulnerable population.
Ashley, we are not seeing your screen. If you share that.
I'm sorry. I was flipping through, but
Okay, it's better
Now
now.
we can see.
sorry about that. But the microgreen program, we're very diverse, but the two specialty programs that we're really expanding is the microgreens as well as our CBD products. So we grow a diverse array of microgreens, and we sell them fresh to different grocers and restaurants, and then doing the freeze drying that lots of companies, vitamin companies, baby food companies are looking for ingredients to add to their products. And now we're coming out with a retail packet next year to sell it direct to consumers for them to add at home to their own things. So really easy way, very versatile to add nutrients to people's diets. And then we're also the first regenerative organic certified hemp in the world in Little Long Pond, Pennsylvania, which we're very proud of. So we grow the hemp, we make all of our products on site. I think 90% of our products are certified organic. The bath bomb has too much salt in it and Epsom salt to be certified, but we certify everything that we can. And we want to be a trusted source that's reliable, consistent, because CBD can help a lot of people, and we want to be a trusted source for those that need it. It's helped me immensely with my stomach condition and others that it's helped so much as well. So now that we're coming out with the ROC microgreen powder as a product to go as a brand instead of just an ingredient provider, and we will be launching the first ROC CBD product next year, where we'll have a ROC tincture mixed with olive oil. We are very excited about that as well. So this was one of our hemp fields there. So, we continue to try and educate from a farmer and community educational standpoint, and now a brand as well. And the research that Rodale and Dr. Arash and Tara and Diminishes are doing at our facility is just incredible and blows my mind every day. And so I would love to hear more from Tara, who's going to talk about some of the research being done at the Rodale Institute Pocono Organics Center.
Thank you, Ashley. Just give me a second and I will share my presentation here. Okay. So many screens. Okay, there we go. Okay. Can you all see my slideshow? Yes. Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you all today. And yeah, so I wanted to tell you a little bit just to follow up on some of the things that really everyone has talked about. So, just to kind of backtrack, and it might be covering a little bit of what Saurav did in the beginning, but at the Rodale Institute, which is the birthplace of organic movement, our focus, of course, as you've heard throughout this talk, is on regenerative organic farming. And we are able to do that through research and education. So we want to make sure that we are conducting quality research and using our education platforms to share that information with all of you. And of course, on World Soil Day, the basis of everything that we do is in the soil. And this started with our founder, J.R. Rodale, who wrote this on a chalkboard, that healthy soil equals healthy food equals healthy people. And you can see throughout all of these talks today that we've touched on all aspects of that it starts at the soil, and we're growing healthy plants, healthy crops, and that the food system is really, one of our ways for medicine, for creating a healthy environment and healthy people. So, with that, our mission and our goal is always to aim to expand organic agriculture, specifically regenerative organic agriculture, by assisting farmers in successfully transitioning to organic. And we do that. We have a consulting program that assists with that, as well as through our research that we put out to the world. And conducting research on the regenerative organic farming methods and their impact on the environment and the end products. And of course, educating consumers on the benefits of regenerative organic for the people and the planet. So how does industrial hemp play a role in that? So just a little bit of my background. I started at the Rodale Institute in 2016. I came in as a research technician running the day-to-day operations of the data collection. And very quickly, as research picked up and the institute started to grow very rapidly, around that time is when the Farm Bill allowed industrial hemp, a new potential crop, which of course not new, very historically old, to be grown. And so we were able to launch a pilot program in 2017. And you can find that information on our website. I'm sure we can share a link then. And so that really was looking at how do we grow this crop again? We're missing so much information. We know that it used to grow everywhere, specifically in the northeastern part of the country. And how does that fit in what we're doing at Rodale? How does it fit in the rotation? Are there potential benefits in an organic crop rotation? And so a lot of our early work was doing that. It was pretty much incorporating hemp into a similar rotation that Saurav described in the farming systems trial, and looking at its impact on things like weed suppression and improving soil health and some of holding on to soil. And so the hope is that and the hypothesis is that industrial hemp is a very versatile crop, and it could have the potential to improve agroecosystem diversity by just having another potential crop that we still know so little about, by mitigating environmental degradation. Hemp is a very heavy biomass plant, and it is thought to be able to assist in things like bioremediation and cleaning up soils that have been contaminated, as well as it has a really deep root system. And so with something like that, the hope is that it could really help with stuff like carbon sequestration and reducing soil compaction. And ultimately, with this new crop, as it started, you could tell right away that it had a great potential to increase farm incomes. And really, that's because of its versatility. This crop has potentially over 25,000 uses, from the flower to be used for oils in cooking and food and cosmetics, as well as the grain. The grain is a very, very nutrient dense grain that is really high in protein and omegas. It is considered a superfood. It is used in a lot of protein powders, a plant-based protein powder. But there's also some industrial uses as well, in construction, and things like bioplastics. So it has a lot of potential in so many different markets. And so, of course, we wanted to research it. So we've done a lot. And so hemp can be really split into 3 different groups, based on its end use. So there's fiber hemp, which you're growing for those industrial purposes. You can separate out the fiber for things like clothing, cloth, textiles, rope. But also the inner part of the plant is used for building material. I don't know if any of you have heard of hempcrete or similar products, as well as things like animal bedding. And then there's grain hemp. Grain hemp, again, another more industrial type hemp, is grown, and the small grains are harvested, again, very nutrient rich. So of course, a food source, as well as a potential animal feed as well. And then CBD hemp, of course, that is a lot of what we work on at the Pocono Center. We are beginning to work on everything there, but it really started with the CBD hemp because of the mission and everything that Ashley told you about, and the aim for human health and using food as medicine. And so we know that CBD has a great potential and high medicinal quality. And so we've done various trials looking at different varieties, because of course we haven't grown this in a long time. So we're starting at square one, and we need to figure out where we can get seed and which types grow well in different regions across the country. Looking again at incorporating hemp into a crop rotation and how it can suppress weeds, looking at nutrient and nitrogen management in the soil, as well as looking at things like mycorrhizal colonization in the soil. So the biotic community of the soil, and the biological health of the soil, and how it is associated with hemp. And so we're doing that with all of these types of hemp. So many projects, and these are being done at our headquarters as well as at Pocono Organics. We have a really unique opportunity there to be able to do a lot of the trials at both locations, very close by, about an hour away from each other, but very different soils, climates, and things like that. So that is a really great opportunity that we have with the Regional Resource Center in the Poconos. And so, as it was mentioned, we do a lot of CBD research and other hemp research at the Pocono Organic Center, and one of Rodale Institute's regional resource centers. So I just wanted to touch on a few of our projects a little bit more specifically. And so, as in organic farming, regenerative organic farming, we have some major challenges. Of course, we know why we want to do this. Everyone who spoke today told us why we want to do this, especially for the health of our soil and our planet and our people. But there are some challenges that come along with it. And so that's a lot of what we do at Rodale is we work through these challenges so that we can help farmers who transition be more successful. And so some of the major problems that we have is weed management and soil fertility management, specifically looking at nitrogen when it comes to our hemp trials. So a few years ago, we conducted a weed management and a nitrogen management trial at the Pocono Organic Center. So the first one was the precision nitrogen management trial, looking at the impact of organic fertilization rates and the application method on CBD hemp production. And so we found that with increasing nitrogen, we were able to increase the floral and plant tissue nitrogen levels. And we were looking for the optimum rate of fertilizer because, our organic sources of fertilizer, in this case, we were using blood meal, can be quite costly. And so, of course, we also want to make sure we're finding those optimum numbers to reduce cost for our growers. And then looking also at the most effective method of application. And in this case, we found that a banding method where you apply the fertilizer directly in strips right along the plants was the most effective form of application. And so these are just a few of the things that we did in this trial, but there's definitely much more that we are looking into. Always we're analyzing the soil health. Typically, definitely the nutrient levels in the soil before and after, as well as physical qualities of soil. And in many trials, we also add a biological component to that as well. And then, of course, we want to know the yield, the practice that we're doing. Are we able to increase the yield and the quality of the crop? Second trial, just to touch a little bit on the issues we face with weed management in organic farming. And in this case, in this trial, we're using the application of a roller crimper for improving weed management in a CBD hemp production system. And so this is one of the tools that we use a lot at many of our locations. And this is a way to reduce tillage. So using a roller crimper, growing cover crops and terminating them without the use of heavy tillage or plowing. Of course, the less that you disturb the soil, the more that you preserve its health in many forms, physically, biologically. And so in this trial, we had plots where we used a roller crimper to terminate the cover crop and planted behind. And then in other plots, there was, they were incorporated into the soil. So we're using a way to dig into the soil, which is a bit more destructive. And so we found for the weed data for this, that in the roller crimped plot, in the plots that had the roller crimp cover crop, it basically, I'll just go back for a second. You could see it kind of creates like a mulch that eventually dies throughout the season. And so with that, we were able to greatly reduce the broadleaf weed pressure, some of our major weeds. And so that was really great to see. We found that our hemp, we had the highest yield in biomass in our roller crimp plots. We did find a higher CBD yield in some of the incorporated plots, so we definitely need to investigate that a bit more. And then overall, the roller crimped plots reduced that broadleaf weed pressure. And the third experiment that I thought is pretty cool that I wanted to touch on is looking at arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi colonization in hemp. So we were growing several different types of fiber hemp, and we analyzed the roots to see if there was colonization of arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, which is a relationship with this fungus in the roots to help with the uptake of nutrients, specifically and most importantly for hemp, nitrogen. And so with that, we did find that we had several varieties that had really high growth and fiber production, and that we were able to find the AMF colonization as much as 45% of the root, which is a pretty good amount. And ultimately, tracking this relationship, it may help us better understand nutrient uptake and ultimately the stress tolerance of the crop. And then for now, that we didn't find a major relationship between whether the yield and the colonization, but it's definitely a relationship that we want to continue to explore. This was just the first study that showed that the relationship existed. And so now hopefully we can start to better understand hemp's nutrient needs and hopefully optimize that nutrient uptake. Hemp is a very heavy nitrogen feeder, much like corn, if not above that. And so we definitely want to make sure we're managing that responsibly and understanding the crop's needs. So just wanted to give a brief overview on a few of the projects that I thought were pretty cool that have been done at the Pocono Organic Center. But of course, we're continuing to do many more things, even outside of of the hemp world, but that's the world I live in. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. We still have so much work to do. We just started understanding this crop, and I think it still has so much potential and really does fit in the mission and the goals of improving our soil health, at the Rodale Institute and Pocono Organic Center. And so, of course, we still have to test many more varieties, expand our research to different regions and soils and climates, and just continue this research to help increase farmer income. And so we are going to continue to do that, and we'll continue to share it with all of you. So I just wanted to thank everyone, Pocono Organics, Rodale Institute, and most of our funding for our research comes from the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, and they've been a big support in our hemp research. So thank you to all of them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tara, and thank you all for being with us today. We had lots of great conversations that technically our panelists provided for us. I want to use the opportunity, we are a bit behind, I want to use the opportunity and ask some of the questions that people ask in the Q&A box from our panelists. So there is a question that I want to ask from all of the panelists because I believe it is important, and their different perspective and experience will, when they share that, it will give a good vision to all of us about the way that we can move forward in that topic. The question is, what are the most immediate steps farmer can take to technically bring the soil health, heal the soil health back to the ecosystems? We know that the situation is bad, but what's the immediate work that we can do for it? I start with Sarah. What do you think, Sarah?
So this is a very important question. And if you remember, one of the things I showed you that there was back in 1930, there was a dust bowl, which kind of had a lot of erosion impact, and we lost almost like 1.2 billion, so 50% of the topsoils. So one immediate thing we can do, reduce the tillage, as Daniel also mentioned that, we need to minimize the disturbances. So we need to minimize a conservation tillage or reduce the tillage impact. And then you can incorporate the cover crops or crop rotation. Cover crops, oftentimes, if you keep the ground covers, it reduces the erosion, like wind erosion and the water erosions and others. So you can keep the soil covered throughout the years, and which will also provide the living roots, because one of the concept is that we need to feed the soil. So if you keep the living roots in the ground, it will provide the root exudates or carbons, which are necessary for the microbial or biological health of the soil. And then implement manure management. Before even joining Rodale, we used to have one trial which is running for 110 years now. We have like almost more than 70 years of manure management, and we found that with manure management, you can improve all the soil health parameters, like not only chemical, biological, physicals, everything you can improve. So proper manure management and compost management is really important. Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah, I think Dr. Des, nailed it. There's a lot of practices, and all of them are very good choices to start. But first of all, I believe is improving the management itself. So doing better what you're actually doing, today. So reducing the amount of inputs, managing better the soil fertility, irrigation, if you're using irrigation. So if you're already doing some cover crops, improving cover crops, improve crop rotation. So very first step is, start to think more critically and understand what is your own path to a more regenerative system. So that may vary a lot, depending not only of the crop, but depending a lot on where the farm is located, the resources available, the brand partners that you may have or may not have today. So yeah, I highlight everything that Dr. Des said, and I would just like add this, the importance of having good management behind it.
Great. Thank you. Ashley, I want to reform the question in another way, because they talked about soil. I remember we had a conversation before about the time that you opened a store. In that store, people knew that they are going to get the food from the place that actually they produce their food in the healthy soil, and they were starving for that. I want you to discuss about that and tell us about the value that education has in this way.
Absolutely. And, for people that aren't familiar with organic and don't eat it very often, like in our rural community, and just don't have the options and the access, they were amazed by the shelf life, right? From our, whether it's our lettuce or whatever crop they might be buying from our market. The shelf life exceeded anything they had gotten at the store before, because it wasn't sitting on a truck being transported, to a distribution center and then going to the grocery store. So that was time, where it was harvested the day before and they get it fresh. And so it was outlasting anything they'd ever seen. But the taste, the taste across the board, that it tastes better. They feel better after they eat the regenerative organic. So, people have had experiences that have been positive benefits that have opened their eyes before, that maybe didn't have access, or just, were uneducated, didn't know because of the lack of access. Now we're looking at food in a different way and more like food as medicine. So awesome.
Great. And actually, there was another question that I want to ask you. One of the person mentioned about the grants that they go to chemical companies. I cannot approve that, but it's like how we can convince the government that organic growers and regenerative organic growers should be support more. Do we need that support first? And how we can convince them that if we need it, how we can convince them to bring the support?
I think organic farms and organic producers definitely need more, government support for sure. And I think that there's a few things that'll, open their eyes to it if you guys are all doing the research, right? And putting the science out there, proving that it's better in times of drought, better, in times of flood, and all the benefits. And then the nutrient density testing that's coming along with it, showing that it's more nutrient dense. And every year, the soil on our farm is just going to get better and better and better over the years of us continuing these practices. So I think between, people having experiences on the farm and waking up and now will choose 3 times a day with their dollars, to support organic brands, organic foods, organic farms. And having that, extra value of the shelf life is like a bonus for the consumer. But, what's been really interesting is, like Rodale, you guys have a farm that you work with at St. Luke's Hospital. So many more hospitals are setting up these like farm prescription programs, right? So I think, once that continues to grow and scale up, and the health insurance companies see that, people are getting healthier and they don't have to spend as much money, I think it's all these things, will come in time, as you guys are doing the science and data to back that up, right? And all the work the ROA is doing with getting the farm certified. And so, I mean, seeing the expansion of the ROC and how much acreage and brands and products, how it's expanded so much in a couple years, it's unbelievable. So I think people will support it, the consumer will support it, which will trickle down, along the way of the whole train. But definitely organic farms need more government support for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashley. That was great having you in this event. So the next question that I have goes to Tara. Tara, when I rethink about your presentation, at some point that was mentioned between the questions, it seems like diversification of the farm by introducing new crops or alternative crops can be a bridge to bring the sustainability back to our agro-ecosystem. So I believe you work on the weed management project, at least you observed something. Can you talk about that a bit more and let us know by adding the new crop in the rotation in this region, what you have observed and how it
Yeah.
could help you to have a better weed management.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we've talked about this farming system trial, over 50 years of data with the same crop rotations with the grains. And when we were able to finally incorporate a new crop and add hemp into that rotation, we saw some really interesting results. And so in that first trial, we called it our weed suppression trial. We did a 4-year grain rotation with hemp being one of the crops. That first year we grew hemp side by side to sorghum Sudan grass, just to have a compare. That's a similar crop that's grown for heavy biomass to help reduce weed pressure and reduce seeds in the weed seed bank in the soil, and to have more of a long-term effect of weed suppression. And then we had some plots where we grew nothing. We let the weeds run wild, as we like to do in our research. We saw that in the plots where we had the sorghum and the hemp, you could walk into those. We called it a hemp forest. We never grew it before, so it was really exciting. It grew 12 feet tall, and you could walk inside of this dense forest, and there was nothing on the floor, no weeds growing. And so that was really exciting to see. But what was even more exciting is the following year, we did, we followed with the cover crop. We did wheat, and we rolled that down. In the following year, we grew soybeans, and that was a really hard year for soybeans. I believe it was 2019 and 18 or 19, I can't remember. But that year, across the state, soybean was pretty much a crop failure all along the state. It was just a really bad year for soybean. We had a lot of periods of really wet, and then followed by really dry periods. And so the soybeans just didn't do well at all. But in that field, even compared to other fields on our farm, the soybeans looked incredible, and we didn't understand why. And so we looked a little bit more at which plots had the hemp in them. And not only, again, were those plots weed-free the following year in the soybean, but those soybean yields were astronomical. They were well above the national average that year. And so, of course, this was just 1 year, just an observation. Want to do it again, but just to see something like that, it gives you so much hope. And it just shows you what the potential is, using hemp and other, specialty crops as a tool to diversify that crop rotation, and the potential that it has to improve.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dora.
Yeah.
I have 2 more questions, one for Daniel, one for Saurav, and then we get a start for ending the webinar with the ending statement. So, Daniel, I want to start with you. I remember in your slides, you said that we are losing how many soccer fields, 30 soccer fields of soil, topsoil, every minute. That's horrible. Can you first translate it to football field? How many football fields it means? It's the most difficult part of the question.
Yeah, definitely I cannot. I'm a soccer fan. We call football, right? So,
Right.
yeah, I know that your field is bigger, but yeah, I
I
cannot translate
I
this.
was kidding. You don't need to answer that. So my question is like, you had different levels of certified regenerative organic ag, bronze,
Sure.
silver, and gold. So what is the most important part of promotion from going up from bronze to silver and silver to gold?
That's a great question, Arash. And the answer is also very important because, as I was saying, we have different certification levels for the certified, the Regenerative Organic Certified, the ROC, because the idea is to give the opportunity for the farmers to, adhere slowly to the program, step by step. So at the bronze level, you only need to include a minimum of 10% of the acreage, of your farm, for example. So you don't need to convert all your farm to regenerative at once. You can do this, starting with this 10%. And then, year after year, slowly progressing until you reach the silver level. which will be 50%, half of your farm, half of your entire operation being part of the Regenerative Organic Certified program. And finally, we have the gold level, right? The final goal, where we are looking after to have 100% of the farm within the program. So the whole operation will be, respecting and complying with all the requirements we have in the standard. And, within the requirements, we also have some differences. So if you take, for example, crop rotations, you need to have at least 3 crops rotated in the same area for the bronze level. But if you go for the silver level, you need to have 4 crops being rotated in the same area. And finally, for the gold level, you need to have 7 crops being rotated. So if you're planting soy, for example, you can only get back to the soil after 3 crops, 4 crops, or 7 crops, right? So this is a way to give the possibility for the farmers to start slowly, right? But aim high in terms of reaching the gold level and the highest bar, the highest standards in regenerative organic agriculture. So this is just one example. We have other requirements that goes the same way. Starts with few practices, a simple requirement, and then escalates to a more complex and diverse, requirement to be complied with. So that's the idea of the whole Regenerative Organic Certified framework. And we are seeing this happening, right? We have a lot of, farmers, organizations, cooperatives that started with the bronze level and then moved to the silver. Some of them are very excited to get to the gold right away, but sometimes we need to slow down, to respect the times. But yeah, things are going well, and we can see a lot of progress in our farms.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. I know that we have received many, many questions because of the sake of shortened time. Is like we try to collect all the questions and we provide an answer. If you register for this webinar, the answers will be shared with you as soon as possible, as soon as we have everything ready. But for the last question, Sarah, I want to ask you one question that I believe is important. Is the combination of many questions that I saw in the chat box. You mentioned that in the FST trial, in the years that we had extreme weather conditions, like they are caused by climate change, technically, we observed higher yield in the plots that they managed organically. So technically, we see the adaptation and mitigate the effect of climate change in those plots. What was the reason of that? What do you think in the soil happened that technically reduced the impact of climate stress on the plants?
That's a good question, Arash. So especially in the manure managed plot, we've seen that, when there's a drought years and there's limited precipitation or rain, we have a higher yield compared to the conventional system. So one of the primary reasons is the improvement in organic matter. If you remember all my slides, we showed that there's a higher percentage of organic matter in the manure management systems or organic system compared to the conventional system. In last couple of years, there's a lot of studies coming out showcasing that if you improve 1% of soil organic matter, on an average, you are improving 1% water holding capacity. So this is a huge deal. So in the years when you have droughts or limited precipitation, in the manure managed systems or organic systems, you are having more water retention, and which ultimately improves the crop yield. But in conventional systems, this is not the case. So you are losing the yield in there. So, we need to better look into that. So a lot of time, I would love to say one thing, and I want to emphasize one thing, that people often quantify things on yield as the primary basis for the adoptions of regenerative organic practices or other, but it's just not the yield. Sometimes, let's say you are improving your environment, you are improving your community life or social life, human health, and it's all connects to the regenerative organic, just not the yield. let's say you are improving water holding capacity, which ultimately going to give you better yield. You are reducing the water contaminations or improving the water quality. That is also a benefit. So ecosystem services, you are improving the carbon sequestration or organic matter over the years. That is also benefits to the environment and eventually leading to the human health and all. So it is way much better if we think in a holistically about the soil health from a system perspective. It is way better than the when you compare to conventional system.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We should all know that, as Saurav and Daniel, I remember he mentioned that we have to see the complexity of the system. Soil is complex, and when we are talking about agro-ecosystems, we are not the people that are managing the system. We are part of the ecosystem. Is the reason we call it agro-ecosystem, or management is part of that, and we should see yourself part of the complexity into the system. So thank you all again for that. I'm going to having the statement for closing this webinar. I know that there are many things that we have to talk about that, but we don't have time today. For sure, we will extend this event or events like this for the future to cover more things that we should cover. So it is true that the world soil faces significant challenges. Today, as it was mentioned in Saurav's slide, 1/3 of global soil are moderately to highly degraded due to erosion, pollution, and unsustainable agricultural practices. Without concerted action, the FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of UN, estimates that over 90% of the Earth's soil could be degraded by 2050. Saurav mentioned that. Just think one more time about that number. The consequence of this trend could be catastrophic for food security, for biodiversity, and for climate stability. But if we work together, we can make a difference. World Soil Day is a rallying point for individuals, communities, and organizations and governments to address the soil health issues proactively by promoting, supporting regenerative organic farming and encouraging soil-friendly policies. World Soil Day shines a bright light and mobilizes collective effort to, first, educate the public about soil's essential role in our life, advocate for policies that support soil restoration and protection, and encourage sustainable consumer choices that prioritize soil health. They need to know that when they are thinking about kids, at the same time, they need to think about their health of the soil, which is the foundation of bringing healthy food for their kids at home. So World Soil Day is a reminder that protecting soil is essential for our future. Through awareness and action, we can restore degraded soil, support food systems, support farmers, and foster resilient ecosystem, making a healthier planet for generations to come. At the end, thank you so much for joining us today in this webinar. This webinar, as you may know, has been recorded and will be available on the Rodale YouTube channel in a week or two. Stay tuned for more loyal to the soil content, which will be featured on our channel in the coming weeks or months. Have a wonderful day, everyone.